Today we're going to talk about how to digitally document your paintings so you can turn them into art prints. Hello, my name is Cassie. If we haven't met before, I am an artist nestled in the Wasatch Mountains of Utah, and each month I share videos taking you behind the scenes of my colorful life as a working artist. You may have seen other artists before online talk about either needing your artwork professionally scanned or needing a professional camera to take them, or maybe you've seen people say that you can take pictures with your cell phone, but when you try it yourself and try to upload them to print, you get like an error saying that the quality is not high enough. I have found a fix, and so today I'm going to walk you through the technique I use to take my paintings, especially when they are really big like this one, and digitize them so we can turn them into prints. The absolute best lighting to document your artwork is the sun. I have used artificial lighting to photograph my work before, and there's just nothing that beats natural light. Now, you might think a bright sunny day like today is absolutely beautiful and perfect for photographing your art. However, that high sun actually creates really intense contrast. It's going to make the bright areas brighter, the dark areas darker, and just overall wash out the colors and affect the accuracy that you're trying to capture when you're documenting your art. So I like to wait for either a overcast, cloudy day. We want even, diffused, natural sunlight, or you wait for shade. Now, of course, like right now, the only part of my house that is shady is right here in the front. I specifically wait for the time of day where there is shade right here. You want to make sure that it's a nice, even shade. Let me tilt you down so you can kind of see what the ground looks like. So it's very solid. There's no spaces like you would if you were under a tree. I like to do it just here on the cement. It's a nice flat surface. If your artwork is small like this, it's really easy to just throw it on your printer scanner and just scan it in, or just take your cell phone and take a shot of the whole image. But if it's larger, like this piece, we need to do it in sections. So you can either hang it on the wall. I will show you how I do them when I have them hung indoors, but I actually really like doing them outside. So I will lay it on the ground. Let me tilt you so you can see. Once you have found a space that has nice, even light in the shade, like I am right here, I like to lay mine on the ground. That way it's nice and flat. A lot of times if you hang your artwork, because of the nails or the wire on the back, it will be at an angle, and you want your camera to be perfectly perpendicular to the surface that you are photographing. That way you don't have any distortion from angles. So that's why I like to do it on the ground. So before I was an artist, I worked for a large format print company, and we would take people's pictures and make life-size cardboard cutouts of them. So I have a lot of experience with taking cell phone photographs and knowing what it takes to blow them up and get the resolution high enough. Something you want to keep in mind when you are using your phone to take pictures of art. Even though the cameras on here are really good, you want to minimize the amount of information that you are giving to the lens as possible. So to put this in really simple terms, the more things that you're looking at, the less focused you are. So when I'm standing back here, your eye might be distracted by the dog behind me. You're seeing the wall, this bench, all the trees and bushes. If I get closer and closer, we get to just focus on the art. And so the camera can pull out all of the details of this so much more clear than if it was way back there. So when we're looking at it up close, suddenly we can see all the details and texture, like this signature. You couldn't see that way back here. So your the camera works the same way. So we want to try to eliminate as much extra as possible, so it just focuses on the artwork and is able to pick up as much detail as it can from the painting. So if you are taking a picture of this whole entire painting, it's going to not be as detailed as if you just took a picture of a small corner of the painting. So what I like to do is I will take my camera and I will set it to a square shape. That way I can see the borders of what I am photographing. It will make my camera just focus in on a specific corner, and I'm going to photograph each section all the way across. So because this painting is so big, I'm going to do it in 3 parts. So we'll do 1 row going across the top, probably about 4 pictures, 1 across the middle, and then the bottom. If your painting is smaller, you probably don't need to do as many passes as I will be doing with this one. So I will take you through what that looks like. We're going to try to get the edges of each of the painting. That way we can see where it stops and starts. And this will help us capture any texture or color and really focus in on the details of the piece. That's a lot of times that texture is lost when you make it big. And I actually like to see a lot of the strokes and sometimes even the texture of the canvas coming through. It really makes your prints look a lot more high end and like a painting instead of like a flawless picture. You're going to open up your camera app, and what I like to do, you can shoot on photo settings or you can shoot on pro. One's fine to use, but for today we're just going to use this regular photo one. Depending on what depending on what phone or camera you have, the settings may look a little different. I do want to change this from full to, we're going to do square. That way it's easy for me to just stitch everything together. And I have a consistent size for as I am taking shots all the way across. So I come into, and I keep a little bit of this edge right here. That way when I take it in to my software, I can tell where the screen starts and stops. So, and right here we're gonna tilt and try to get as straight as humanly possible. See how the plus sign kind of straightens me up. Okay, so we're gonna do one there. Scooch over a little bit. There. And you can get as close as you like. There's the corner. Depending on how tall you are, this might be kind of difficult. Also the size of your painting. So I try to, there we go, line up the plus so that we can see where we're off. There we go. And this edge, Willow, be quiet. Okay, come down here. Shh, no, we'll go inside in a minute. And keep going. All the way, whoops. And if you aren't perfectly straight, it is fixable. I'll show you when we get on the computer. Okay, and then just to make it easy on myself, I usually try to take one like this. I am going to make this full and turn it so that I have one that shows the entire painting. And now we are ready to take this into the computer and stitch everything together. Before we head over to the computer, I did want to address that it is totally okay to take pictures of your art hung on a wall or your easel or whatever have you. Sometimes it's not going to be realistic for you to take a picture of whatever you've created on the ground. For me, I find it much easier for me to keep my hand straight when I take them that way versus on the wall. And the main reason for that is because when your art is hung, you do have a bit of gapping from the wire or nail or whatever you have on the back hanging up your artwork. It also can be affected based off of how tall you are. Like if you're short, you're not going to have the perfect angle to capture the artwork or too tall, vice versa. So there's a lot more variables I've come across as when I'm trying to photograph my art on a wall. So I really only have this one room that I can shoot in, and it's at a very specific hour of the day. It has to be like optimal conditions, which is why I have found outside works much better for me, and I get consistent lighting so that all of my prints have a similar lighting effect and they look a lot better when they're printed. But you can definitely do this on a wall. I do recommend if you're shooting on a wall that you use a tripod. I have one that I like to use that has like a sorry, I like just hauled in all of the supplies from outside, so I'm a little out of breath. But yeah, you can totally shoot on a wall. I do like to use a tripod for that reason. It minimizes distortion, and that is really important, especially if you have traditional type art where it's like a landscape or a portrait. You're really going to notice that distortion when you take your pictures. So having a tripod as you do those sections going all the way across will really help with consistency and making sure that everything is nice and level. When you pay to get your art professionally scanned, this is the technique that they use. They will have their fancy camera and they will have it on a tripod and go across the wall. And yeah, that's exactly how, if you pay to have your art digitally scanned, that is how they do it. So we're doing the same thing just with our silly little cell phones. So let me take you down to the computer and I will show you the free software that I use to stitch all of these pieces together. Now, there are quite a few different editing apps out there that have panoramic stitching available. I have tried 3 of them. I've tried Lightroom slash Photoshop and Hugin. And the one that I'm going to show you today is my absolute favorite. It is by Affinity. They are not a sponsor. This is a free software program that anyone can download and use. It's like similar to Photoshop, and it's incredibly user-friendly. I have really liked the one that Adobe does in Photoshop and Lightroom, but they do have a monthly subscription. And Hugin is also free, but the learning curve was steeper. This really seems like a great option. And I love the fact that you can not only stitch your photos together, but you could also edit them and get them all ready to print. You can export them at whatever file format and size that you need. It's a really great program. So like I mentioned, today we are using the Affinity Studio. This is where you can download it. It is powered by Canva and therefore completely free. I will leave a link to it in the description so it's easy for you to find. Now, when you open it up, it is going to look like this. You can click on this big plus sign and pick the size template that you would like to start with. DPI set to 300 is always good. You can also set this to inches if that's easy for you to understand. So like for the painting that we just took a picture of, the size is 36 by 24. Now, you can set this to whatever the largest size print that you want to be able to do is, if you like. You can also skip this whole section and then just start opening your file if you prefer. But I'm going to start here. So this gives me a template so I know exactly how big we can go with this particular painting. So now we're going to go to File, New Image Process, and Panorama. This just window is where we are going to select our pictures. So click Add. And then these are all of the pictures we just took. I'm going to select everything except for the one that has my feet in it, where I was just using as a reference to get the full picture. Okay, everything is there. So let's go ahead and hit Stitch. And then all the little fairies are going to put everything together. Ta-da! That's so cool. It gives us a little preview, so if anything looks amiss, you can always redo at this screen before proceeding. This looks fine to me, so I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And it brings it into or template. You can see right now everything's really pixelated. Just let it render the rest of the way and everything will smooth out. Just like that. Now, right here, we can actually crop it. There is this crop to opaque tool that you can click on, but it's not going to really work for us because we've included some of that background. So I'm just going to go ahead and slide this down to cover all my corners. It is always going to have a little bit of jagged edges. That's just the nature of how it was matching up the panorama. I think that looks pretty good. And hit apply. And now just make sure that you're on this, this vector section is basically like Illustrator. This pixel section is the one you want to be on if you want to do any sort of photo editing. So in this one, you could add a layer with your signature in the corner if you wanted. You could crop this to different sizes. You could change the colors. Whatever you want to do, it is possible within this software. For now, I'm just going to export this. So if you just hit save, it's going to save this working file. You want to go to export. And now we have all of these different file formats that we can choose from. So there's JPEG, PNG, TIFF. These are usually the three main ones that I'll select if I am saving a image to send to the printer. Sometimes printers might ask for a PDF. It's very rare. Usually they're perfectly fine with one of these two. You can always set the pixels to be something specific. It will give you an estimated file size. So if they are looking for something that's either a minimum or maximum file size, you can customize all of that here within Affinity. So I'm just going to select the basic PNG. We'll go ahead and hit export, and then we can just save it. So here is that file that we just made, and you can see when we zoom in, we have a really nice, good quality scan because we took all of those separate photographs and stitched them all together. I did want to show you, so you'll notice when I was doing my video that there were a bunch of times I took pictures where like that plus sign was not perfectly lined up, so you could tell that I was not holding the phone level. I want to show you what happens when you do that. So this perspective shift distortion is what will happen if you are not holding the camera perfectly perpendicular. This can occur whether you're not holding it straight when it's on the ground or if you are taking it on a wall. Anytime that you don't have things perfectly aligned, this is the result that can happen. It is something that you could potentially try to fix after the fact. So in here, if you did want to mess with that, we do have this perspective tool, how we can adjust the perspective a little bit like this. So you can try to adjust things a little bit that way, but I think it's a lot better if you just prevent it up front versus having to come in and crop after the fact. But it's a pretty great little tool. There's a whole bunch of really amazing tutorials on YouTube that you can find to teach you how to use Affinity further. But hopefully this gives you a great place to jump off of if you want to start saving files to make your own art prints. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about how I wire my paintings, get them printed, or anything else, please let me know in the comments and I'll address it in a future video. We'll see you next time. Bye, Willow.